much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am delighted to be here. I'm so thankful to have been invited to this wonderful gathering. And I want to talk a little bit, thank you for sharing the time with me, to talk a bit about lifestyle habits, which is the way we choose to live, and the operative word is choice, and the relationship of our lifestyle habits to our health and to our longevity and to the quality of our life. There's a lot of different ways that you can define lifestyle. I mean, heck, it's the label in your clothes. It's what you drive. It's where you live. But from a health standpoint, it really comes down to the answer to four basic questions. What's my diet? What do I put in my mouth? That's a lifestyle choice. We all get to make that choice multiple times in the course of any given day. Do I choose to exercise on a regular basis? That's certainly a lifestyle choice. We will all get to make that choice today. Will you choose to be sedentary? Will you choose to move your body? Luckily, we'll have that same choice again tomorrow. Do I choose to smoke? That's the single most important lifestyle choice that we will make, particularly for our cardiovascular health. And finally, do I choose to stay under stress? Now, you notice the question is not, do I choose to have stress in my life? Because if you're living the contemporary American lifestyle and you happen to have, let's say a 401k, stress comes as part and parcel of the territory. So the choice here is not whether or not we're going to have stress, but it's how we deal with it. So diet, exercise, smoking, and stress are the four things that we get to manage. The way we put them together forms a lifestyle that either puts us on the road to health or can put us on the road to disaster. Now, I've been teaching this all over the country to groups like this, and there's so many of them that have said, this makes such great sense. And as soon as Labor Day is over, I'm getting with this stress management program. I can't do it right now. We've got this new project. We've got relatives coming in. I had one woman actually tell me, I'm a little too stressed now for stress management. And I can understand that procrastination because that's the way I lived for a long time. But that changed for me in 1977 when I was 32 years old and I went through bypass surgery. I thought I'd been doing the right thing. I grew up, as many of you did, in an atmosphere where they said, drink a lot of whole milk, eat a lot of red meat for strong bones and healthy teeth. So I did. I was smart enough not to smoke, but I grew up in Connecticut, and like Missouri, the doors and the windows are closed 7 months out of the year. I had two parents that smoked. I don't blame them. They didn't know in those days, but I paid a huge price for secondary smoke. I was physically active with sports in high school and college, but then when you came out of college in those days, you stopped. Little social golf, little social tennis, but nobody was talking about aerobic exercise. And I was stressed, but everybody was stressed. So I didn't think anything was out of whack until one day I was playing tennis, got a little pulling sensation in the middle of my chest. That can't be anything. I went back the next day, got a little pulling sensation in the middle of my chest. That can't be anything. I went back the next day and the next day and the next day. The upshot was I played tennis for 30 consecutive days, and on the 30th day, I no longer had a little pulling sensation in the middle of my chest. I had a giant white-hot pain. Couldn't catch my breath. So I went to see my family physician, didn't even make an appointment. I had been there 4 months earlier for a complete physical. I just walked into his office and promptly announced, I have bronchitis. I'm not breathing real well when I'm playing tennis. Take a look at my lungs. He did. He said, I don't see a problem with your lungs, but as long as you're in my office, why don't we do an electrocardiogram? I said, sure. I had one done 4 months ago. It was perfect. So I hopped up on the table, and I'll never forget his words to me. He said, gee, something's wrong with my machine. He said, shall we do this again? I said, by all means. So I hopped back up on the machine, and he kicked it once or twice, flipped the switch. He said, Joe, there's nothing wrong with my machine. There's something wrong with you. You have a heart problem. I said, doctor, with all due respect, you're crazy as a loon. I'm 32 years old. I play tennis every day of my life. 4 months ago, I was in this very room, sitting on this very table. You said everything was perfect. This can't be serious. This can't be a serious situation. He said, let me tell you how serious I think it is. I'm closing my practice for the rest of the day. I'm driving you to see a cardiologist because I don't want you behind the wheel of a car. Well, that got my attention. We went to see the cardiologist. He did an external exam. We immediately crossed into the hospital, did an internal exam. 2 days later, I was in bypass surgery for a 95% blockage of the left main coronary artery. They call that the widowmaker. It's what killed Tim Russert. My children were 6 and 4. Hadn't been married 10 years to my wife yet. My new business was 3 years old. My new house was 1 year old. We did not know what hit us. And things got worse, because in those days, nobody knew about cholesterol. I wrote the first book in this country on diet and cholesterol, a book called Don't Eat Your Heart Out. Came out in 1982. This was 1977. If you asked 10 docs about cholesterol, you'd have gotten 10 different answers. But I was lucky because I thought the University of Washington had just opened up a lipid center, brand new, to study cholesterol at the university hospital. And I thought, this is great. They had even hired in a famous doctor from Washington, D.C., so I thought, I'm going to go through the testing, sit down with this doc, and we'll get it all straightened out. So I went through the testing, and I sat down with him, and I said, cholesterol's a problem for me, isn't it? He said, yes, it is. I said, well, should I change my diet? Should I change my exercise? Should I manage my stress? What should I be doing here about lifestyle? Should I be doing anything? He looked me right in the eye, and he said, don't bother. He said, you have aggressive coronary disease. You're 32 years old. Frankly, I doubt that you'll live to be 40. He said, if you think you're going to see those children in the waiting room graduate from high school, it isn't going to happen. He said, you can go home, do anything you want to do with diet and exercise and the rest of this stuff. He said, I don't have much belief in it. He said, but understand this. This is not going to end well for you. And that was the message I took home. And I moped around for about 2 weeks until my wife, who's a lot smarter than I am, yanked on my chain and said, look, let's get something straight. You cannot change the cards that you were dealt. You're 32. You have aggressive coronary disease. We can't change that. But you can change the way that you play those cards. And I don't care what that doc said. We're going to eat better. We're going to exercise more. We're going to stay away from smoke. We're going to manage our stress to see if we can't even up the odds. And I'm pleased to tell you that's what has happened. Last year I celebrated the 32nd anniversary of that bypass surgery. I am well past. Thank you. I am well past the age of 40. I actually have a Medicare card. I've been married to my wife for 42 years. I've seen my kids graduate from high school and college and graduate school. And now we're into the new generation. This is, if they put up that slide, this is my grandson, Joe. And I put him up there, not just because he's a cute kid, but I put him up there for 2 reasons. The first is, it's very meaningful for me because there was a time in my life when I never thought I'd hold a grandchild. I now have 4 of them, so I mean, lifestyle has been good to me. But the other thing is, I want the audience to realize what I'm talking about this morning, what the other speakers are going to be talking about today. It's not just science. It's not just data. It's about people. It's about how you will choose to live your life, about how your family will choose to live your lives, and how your community will choose to live your life. So I want you to make the right choices. I'm a pretty laid-back guy, but once a year I get a little angry. It's usually on the anniversary of my bypass surgery, and for 32 years I have done 2 things. The first thing is I've always hiked as high as I could up on Mount Rainier, usually the 10,000-foot level. And the second thing I've done for 32 years is I've sent that doctor a card. I have never received a response. So, the message to you today is a simple one. Life is not a dress rehearsal. With the possible exception of Shirley MacLaine, the rest of us get to go through one time. On the one time through, you will have an opportunity to make choices that either put you on the road to health or put you on the road to disaster. So I implore you to make the right choices. Because if I've learned anything in the almost 33 years now since that bypass, it all boils down to this. If you will not take the time for your health today, I can promise you, I can guarantee you, you're going to have to make the time for your illness tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you for having me in.